What, you know what, just to be safe, thing you did ended up saving your ass later. About 10 years ago when I was married, my wife's best friend kept on flirting with me. One time when she was being super aggressive, I recorded it on my cell phone. A few months later, she accused me of saying to her the very things that she said to me. One listen from my wife to my phone completely exonerated me and shut her down completely. She was trying to ruin my marriage because hers was crappy. Flipped over my shoe and shook it, 'cause I had found a spider in it the night before. Just to make sure, there was another spider in there. Australia. Edit. This is now my most upvoted comment by far. Yes. Saving a receipt for a campus parking ticket I paid for during my freshman year of college. They do this thing where they double the ticket amount after a month of not paying. I paid it the week I got it. Stuffed the receipt in my bag and forgot about it. Apparently, whoever was in charge of clearing me didn't, and I was told I had an unpaid, doubled parking ticket on my account after like 3 months when I tried to settle up tuition for the semester. Disputed that, and wore a smug-ass look on my face as I directly reached in my bag and pulled the receipt out to show the monsieur. I mean, otherwise, I would have had to essentially pay that ticket 3 times. Something tells me it's not the first time that's happened to students there. I usually pay my tuition in cash. It's a community college. This is not a humble brag. And they routinely forget to print me a receipt unless I ask for one. Always get a receipt. Edit. This got a surprising amount of traction and multiple people have asked why I would pay in cash over other, more secure methods. My school's bursar charges fees to pay by check or credit card. But there isn't a fee for cash payments. They also won't take a personal check, only a certified check from the bank, which also carries its own fee. So I could pay in cash and just pay my balance, or pay another method and also pay roughly $20 in fees to do so. Further, if I pay in cash they lift the hold right away and I can register for next semester's classes on the spot. If I pay with a CC or check, they don't lift the hold for 3 to 4 days, even if I physically go into the office and pay in person. I was offered a job in Europe, where I was promised a bonus that was X% of my salary, paid twice a year. When the offer was sent, there was no mention of the bonus, and when I questioned why, I was told, "Don't worry, it's in this email with my official company signature." I put that one into the saved folder, just to be safe. Fast forward to moving. On the first payout period I was told I needed to be with the company for 90 days first before a bonus would be paid. Okay, I was annoyed, but I guess that makes sense. On the second bonus payment, they mentioned that the company hadn't had a great year and nobody would be getting bonuses. More annoyed, but if the company isn't doing great, what are you going to do? I should add this was in 2008. The following year rolls around and the company announces that things have really taken off and they will pay out the previous bonus period, in addition to the current bonus period. Only problem is, I literally handed in my resignation that day. I inquire to find out if I'll be receiving my bonus from the previous bonus period. And they say, "Are you kidding? You just quit." I call a lawyer. I dig up the email from the start of this post, hand that over, and the lawyer says it's a slam dunk case. She goes after both bonus payments from the first year and both bonus payments from the current year, even though one of them hasn't happened yet. Company HQ calls me and tries to get me to drop it, and I refer them to my lawyer. A week later, at my new job, the lawyer informs me that they've paid all 4 bonus payments, and she also went after her own fees. So it cost me nothing. Glad I saved that email. Cover your ass, and do not let others push you around. If I've learned something from Reddit, it's CYA, lawyer up, and hitting the gym never hurt no one. I've written about this before, but here goes. 4 students of mine won the first prize for a project they did and we all got a free trip to London. We had spent the day sightseeing and were exhausted, so we got an ice cream and sat on a bench in a park to relax. A couple of minutes later I noticed this couple walk by slowly, staring at us. My spidey senses go mental. I do asterisk, not asterisk like these people for some reason. She walks by and sits on the bench next to ours, and he sits on the bench across from hers. They aren't talking, just looking at each other. And that is when I notice her reaching into her pockets. I jump up, grab my students, and run out of the park. My poor students are confused AF and wondering WTF is wrong with me, when all of a sudden we hear screaming. Turns out she stabbed a couple walking through the park, trying to rob the monsieur. It scares the ever-loving fuck out of me, knowing had I not gotten my students out of there, we would have been stabbed and robbed. Edit. For all those trying to turn this into a racial shit show, everyone involved in this incident was white. That is some scary shit. Props to you for trusting your instincts. How old were you students at the time? Thank you. They were 15 to 16-year-olds. I booked a vacation for my wife's birthday in Cabo San Lucas months in advance. For some reason as I was booking it I decided to get the trip insurance. I had never done that before, but time this I thought I better do it. Our trip was to be in October. I booked it in June. The beginning of September a hurricane struck Cabo and did a lot of damage. I contacted the resort and they said they were not very badly affected. I left the reservation booked. The day before we were to fly to Cabo I checked the flights and everything was good to go. We got to the airport and as we were checking, the woman checking in said, "Oh, there's a problem with your connecting flight." Yeah, the problem was the connecting flight had been cancelled over a month ago. Yeah, Expedia neglected to tell us that little bit of info. I was able to recoup all of the money we spent because of the insurance. Those booking websites like Expedia and hotels are horrible. I used to use them because I figured the cost difference would be very minimal and it was convenient for me. But then I recently decided to try booking directly instead of with a booking website, and it ended up costing me $200 less for 5 nights at a hotel. Was remodeling my house. Took out a loan and had to get the house appraised to get the loan. Found that my house was worth $100K more than I had it insured for. Raised my limits on the home insurance to $50K more than the appraised value in anticipation of completing renovations. 2 weeks later, house burned to the ground due to a faulty bathroom fan that I did not touch. City, insurance company and loan company all sent separate investigators due to how shady it looked. A tropical storm was blowing through my city a few months ago and we were projected to get some wind gusts and significant rain. Because our parking lot isn't large enough for all staff and our clients, a lot of us have to park on the street, which is lined with large, old trees. As I rolled up on the morning we were due to get the storm, I parked in my usual spot down the block. Before I shut the car off, though, I noticed that this particular spot was located directly across the street from one of the largest trees on the block. Thinking, you know what, just to be safe, I put the car in reverse and backed up about 10 feet, safely out of the direct line of fire from any trees. In the middle of that afternoon, in the midst of the howling wind and driving rain, we heard a huge thud down the street. Went to investigate, and that same tree I'd been parked across the street from fell across the road and missed my car by about 8 feet. At that moment, I was glad that I decided to play it safe. The car parked on the other side of the street, directly across from where I'd initially been, got absolutely destroyed. Crushed roof, windows blown out, just pulverized. We had similar a few years ago, but it was my professor. He parked under a tree and came to teach us. During the lecture the winds picked up and he turned around and said, "Well, I had a gut feeling I shouldn't park in my usual spot, but I ignored it. That may have been a mistake." Turns out it was. Tree toppled and totaled his car. I spent extra money on Kevlar motorcycle gloves, A lot more expensive but 5 times more durable. When I later on crashed with my sports motorcycle, I slid the first stretch of meters on the palms of my hands and feet and knees before I started rolling, etc. Kevlar is the way to go with all garments. I'm talking shirts, shorts, pants, jorts, jants, underwear, socks, jewelry, glasses, fucking braces, piercings, dentures. Can't go wrong. Edit. Whoa. Reddit silver. I've never been gilded before. I feel so special. Edit. Holy shit, asterisk, gold asterisk. I have some Kevlar contact lenses. Kevlar condoms. Nobody's poking holes in these. Bulletproof cock. I had a car sitting on jack stands because I needed to do some transmission work. Before climbing under it, I thought it'd be a good idea to rock the car around. One of the jack stands was not in the right spot and the car slipped off it, slamming down on the front disc brakes. Would have killed me. One of my coworkers died earlier this year from this very thing. You were good to check. Working in an electric panel, I went over to check to make sure the disconnect was off. It wasn't. I was being careful either way, not getting near the high voltage stuff, but it didn't need to be on, and could have easily killed myself with one mistake. This happened yesterday. Electricity, water, and wild animals are the 3 things ya don't fuck with in this world. You must be terrified of electric eels. I took one of those extra driving classes you always hear about to get the discount on your car insurance. I was in college and my premium was killing me. The one I signed up for was an 8-hour course that I knocked out in one day, and the focus was maintaining control of your vehicle in bad weather. I took it over spring break, which is still a pretty snowy, icy time of year around here. The big test at the end to determine if you got the certificate was to pass the moose test, though. Some places call it the elk test or the deer test. Either way, to pass the course you had to successfully swerve around some cones on an icy road and regain control of the car on the other side of the cones. So my first day back at school from spring break, I'm driving myself and my roommate from the liquor store back to our dorm in some shitty conditions. I try to turn left into our parking lot and my car just slides straight past it and down a hill. I try to turn the wheel right to get into a different parking lot and get closer, but not quite where I need it to be. I'm heading straight for a telephone pole. My roommate is panicking, but I looked at it and I realized this is just the moose test. I managed to swerve around the pole, narrowly missing a wall of parked cars next to it, and regained control on the other side, finally bringing my car to a stop in an empty section of the parking lot. Then we walked back to the dorm and drank our faces off. So the moral of the story is, those extra driving classes you might take for the insurance discount may just save your life. It's the moose test. Greater than. My roommate is panicking, but I looked at it and I realized this is just a moose test. Roommate: dude, why aren't you freaking out? Dan Ham: don't worry dude, it's just the moose test. Roommate: WTF. I was undergoing pilot training and was pretty new to the whole thing, feeling the pressure to perform, etc. I walked out to pre-flight a plane for a solo flight. You do this completely alone. Instructor was back at flying school doing something else. After doing my walk around, it's time to check the oil. Cessna 172s have a dipstick that is attached to a cap that screws into the engine. You unscrew cap and remove dipstick along with it, and check the oil. Except, after I unscrew the cap, there doesn't seem to be a dipstick attached to it. I have this thought, well, the engine is still warm from the dudes who just flew before me, so they flew it like this. Maybe they had a separate dipstick. They must have checked the oil then some other way. Then I have to, well, to be safe, I should actually pack this up and go ask someone at the flight school exactly how to check the oil. In this case, note, this takes quite a chunk of time out of my supposed flight and will cut my lesson for the day short by quite a margin. But I do it anyway. Long story short, info gleaned from subsequent investigations. The dipstick had broken off during the previous flight, that had landed just minutes before, and had slid straight into the engine, where the crankcase had been chomping away metal from the tip. That metal now circulating in the engine. The aircraft was grounded. It was extremely dangerous to fly, and at massive cost had to be stripped down. The entire engine disassembled, and they actually had to find every bit of metal missing from the dipstick and reassemble the dipstick before plane could be reassembled and made flight-worthy again. If, in a moment of stupidity, I'd taken off in that plane, I'd probably be dead. That's so terrifying because it's just one of those moments where you could have easily reasoned yourself into saying, "Now those other guys were okay, so I'll be okay too." This is why they make you go through all those lessons before letting you fly. Because it is guaranteed the aircraft is going to wind up back in the ground somehow. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.